was definitely offered a job, and they were like, we'll pay you to study. While you study, then we'll hire you, and we start off paying like 300k. When it's a tech startup, there's a lot of freedom. So even in South Africa, the biggest driver would then be the salary bands. The salaries in America are ridiculous. The ones in the Netherlands, obviously based on the currency. But I believe that South Africa is definitely not too far off in terms of the company cultures that they do keep from companies like Offers In, Microsoft that's here, Google that's here. They do try to foster that environment. So having a platform like this podcast could be a great opportunity for somebody to actually engage and network with people that are on the podcast as well. So I think for me, getting to the Netherlands is a testament of using networking skills.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Sandile Hlangani podcast, where entrepreneurship meets innovation. I'm your host, Sandile Hlangani, a tech journalist passionate about telling stories of businesses who are shaping the future of work. Today, we have a special guest with us. So help me welcome our special guest, Vuyo. Thank you so much, Vuyo, for welcoming us into your space. We really appreciate your time. Just take a moment, Vuyo, and introduce yourself to our audiences.
I'm Vuyo, and I'm a cloud native engineer. I'm passionate about building communities in South Africa and abroad.
Can you just please share your experience with our audiences moving to the Netherlands while you were 7 months pregnant?
I think it was a trip and a half. Without going into too much detail, I took a massive risk. I'm somebody who's very big on trying new things, and the way I got into going to the Netherlands was through a lady that I met on Twitter. So having a platform like this podcast could be a great opportunity for somebody to actually engage and network with people that are on the podcast as well. So I think for me, getting to the Netherlands is a testament of using networking skills. Yeah, I was scared. Obviously, I didn't have any family, no friends there. Only colleagues, and my colleagues became friends. It was a massive risk, but I told myself I'm doing this for my kids. So I'm basically trying to foster a good future for them as best I know how. And that's how I went to the Netherlands. 7 months pregnant. So it was definitely humble beginnings because everything was new. So with the experience, it's a culture shock. I now have to, I was converting everything to rands, from euros to rands. Everything around me was expensive. It's really safe, but the air is dry. It's really windy. You miss home, you miss the meat, you miss the people, but there's freedom, there's safety, there's cycling. There's opportunity to travel. Yeah.
So can you just talk to us about the most significant challenges that you had to face while you were moving to the Netherlands?
Oh my goodness, housing. There's a housing crisis. I think that for me was a massive shock. And then when I found an apartment, I had to pay an agent the price of the apartment, which is basically rent, and then put 2 months deposit down and pay rent again. So it's like 4 months rent up front, and I was like, I'm already broke. And when I get there, there's no lights, there's no flooring, there's nothing. People leave with their own floors, they leave with the lights. Now I need to think, shoot, my uncle's in South Africa, I don't have a handyman, now I have to become a handywoman. So those are some of the challenges. And also just not knowing the language right off the bat. I know Afrikaans, but Afrikaans and Dutch are very different, right? And so that was another contributing factor. But besides that, I think being the social person that I am, I acclimatized quickly.
So how did you try to balance these responsibilities as a tech mom for you?
I actually wrote a blog about it, so you guys should read my blog. I think having a supportive company is important, having those structures in place from friends and family that support you. I speak to my family every single day, and that has been sort of like the anchor knowing where I stand with regards to my faith. That played a very big and integral part in juggling everything as a mother and working in the tech space in a foreign country. So it was a lot of changes. So one is having a baby, moving, and getting married. So I did 2 of the 3 things at the same time. So it was quite interesting.
So the challenges that you just shared with us, definitely they speak to your well-being and self-care during that time. Talk to us about that.
I think for me, having a very strong support structure that believes in me is important. It definitely is an environment that fosters growth and success. When I'm feeling down, I'm able to communicate with them. So using tools like WhatsApp, FaceTime, and so forth. So that has really helped me. I listen to podcasts religiously, so I can't wait to listen to this podcast. So I listen to a lot of faith-based, motivating content, which has definitely helped shape the person I'm becoming.
So let's just shift our attention now to the work that you do, especially in the Netherlands. Just walk us through the work that you do as a cloud native and a developer.
Without getting into too much detail, I work for clients, so we help clients integrate into the cloud space. So depending on where they are in their cloud journey, so we do an assessment first, and then after the assessment, based on how well or poorly they score, we're able to assist. They then get us as a team to go into the current team that they have and help them integrate. So we help them with Kubernetes, we help them with Terraform, we help them with Docker. So depending on the need, sometimes it's not always as hectic that they want to perhaps play around with new tools right off the bat. Some companies are very cloud agnostic, so they want to use AI tools and implement it into the cloud space, which is really nice to do. So we do a lot of integration work, whether it's with the cloud providers that we're currently partnering with from Google, Microsoft. So we utilize a lot of those tools.
So how does then the industry, the tech industry, so to say, in the Netherlands differ from ours here at home?
I think it's not that different. The tech ecosystem is not that different. I think the biggest challenge is sort of the company culture is the biggest thing. When you work in a bank, there's a lot of red tape, even in the Netherlands or any other country, because it is a formal institution, right? But when it's a tech startup, there's a lot of freedom. So even in South Africa, the biggest driver would then be the salary bands. The salaries in America are ridiculous. The ones in the Netherlands, obviously based on the currency. But I believe that South Africa is definitely not too far off in terms of the company cultures that they do keep from companies like OfferZen, Microsoft that's here, Google that's here. They do try to foster that environment that is very tech savvy, I guess, or very chilled and laid back, like in a tech environment, right? Your DVTs, your BBDs, sorry for name dropping, but those companies definitely have a good culture about them, even though they work a lot with clients. The thing with countries or with companies abroad is that I've experienced less toxicity. There's less of a hierarchy. It's more of a flat structure. So I think that autonomy gives people that freedom, whether it's a work from home culture not being forced, we're more productive. So I think that remote first culture, especially in the Netherlands, is something that instills trust as an employee with your employer, then you push even more.
Is there money in the tech industry, Vuyo?
Absolutely. I like money.
Can you share some insights on the high-paying tech jobs, not only in the country, but in the Netherlands? Where are you based?
I would definitely say the security space. Security is one of the spaces. Blockchain is definitely another space where I think this was probably like 2 years back. I was definitely offered a job and they were like, we'll pay you to study. While you study, then we'll hire you. And we start off paying like 300K. So that is dependent also where the blockchain ecosystem is in the market as well. So that also is a big contributing factor, because the economy also plays such a big role, as you've seen with the SVB Bank. What transpired that affected a lot of consultancies. So consultancies are the first to leave companies, right? But consultancies are also the most expensive because we're experts in those fields. And that's why we need to stay abreast with what is happening within the current market and the ecosystem.
So how can someone without a degree get started in the tech industry?
Oh my goodness, there's so many avenues. How can they not? I think the most important thing is that you need a laptop or go to a library where you can actually code. You don't necessarily have to do just front end or back end or full stack. There's so many things. There's free code camp, there's Udemy, there's paid for courses, there's Rethink Code, there's boot camps, there's people you can ask, there's Twitter. You can start with your phone learning the material, you can get a book. There's so many ways. So I think the most important one is to actually start building projects. There's hackathons. So I love hackathons because it's a short space of time. You can learn a new language. You won't learn it completely, but it's a great way to get started by building something with that language. So I think, and then it also helps your portfolio when you have to interview for jobs. Hey, I've actually built this, I can work with this, I'm a quick learner, and so forth. So I think those are some of the things. And with regards to your previous question, the salary band is very generous depending on the company. With international companies, they do pay extremely well, but with American companies, they're the higher paying ones. But understanding that there is no job security with America, so they can wake up and say you're fired or retrenched, which is a nice way of putting it. And then in Europe, there's a lot of legislations. So that's why it's a little bit tougher to crack into that space. Same applies to South Africa. You've got CCMA protecting its people. So that's why there would be those big discrepancies. So people need to also understand that as much as there's a lot of high-paying jobs, it's also a bit more riskier.
So what kind of skills or rather certifications are essential for one to succeed in the tech industry?
I think it's also just knowing which path you're taking. There's a lot of certifications in the cloud space. So you start from associate, professional to experts, depending on the cloud provider you're utilizing. I'm speaking specifically for the cloud environment, apologies. So with Microsoft as an example, or Google, you've got the cloud professional certifications. With AWS, they've got a whole slew of them. As much as with Terraform, that's when you want to branch into that space. So most of the time, each provider has their own certification track that you can follow. And then the tools that you utilize in there, the automation tools, also have certifications. So that has been something that is important. There's a tool that I'll share the link with you that people could utilize to follow which track to take. Knowing things like being able to utilize Git properly, that helps to the success. Being able to use things like Vim, understanding coding, being able to code is a big contributing factor. Being digitally literate, of course, is another one. And having access to good and stable internet. The nice thing about working in the tech space is that you're able to work remote. I've got a wonderful full stack engineering friend who's actually in Bali for 3 months now. I said, Vuyo, I'm tired of South Africa. He's off to Bali, now it's Vietnam or wherever, and he's just working from there. So I think it's that flexibility to be able to not only enjoy your life, but work from anywhere in the world. And you're able to do that with just your laptop.
So any advice that you would like to share with our audiences?
Any advice? Oh my gosh, I think listen to your parents. No, I'm just kidding. Any advice would be definitely, I think the quicker you know what you're interested in and then integrate technology in it, you'll definitely succeed, because you're not going to be bored. If it's art, there's digital art. If it is fashion, there's AI fashion that you can tap into. So pursue your passion and make sure you integrate technology into the space, because there's definitely some new cutting edge stuff that is coming out and constantly coming out, and you can be in the forefront of it. So follow your passion and the money will come.
Thank you so much, Vuyo, for sharing your inspiring story with our audiences.
Thank you for having me.
If you're inspired by Vuyo's story, please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast, Sandile Hlangani podcast, on all social media platforms. Otherwise, until next time, cheers.